Now let's move into chapter 3.5 where we are going to be discussing market equilibrium. So what is an equilibrium? Well, first of all, we have to have interactions of buyers and sellers, and they make up a market. Now, the equilibrium is the one price and quantity combination that is compatible with the intention of both buyers and sellers, which is just a fancy way of saying out of all the possible prices that could exist for this particular product, there is going to be one price and one quantity demanded and quantity supplied combination that's going to end up making both buyers and sellers happy with the situation that they're in. So equilibrium is located where the demand curve and supply curve intersect, so it'll be easy to spot on a curve. The equilibrium price and quantity reflect a compromise between buyers and sellers, because we know the buyers would rather the price was lower because that would help their self-interest. We know the sellers want the price to be higher because that would help their self-interest. So the equilibrium price is always a compromise between what the buyers want and what the sellers want. And then last but not least on this slide, no other compromise yields a quantity demanded that's exactly equal to the quantity supplied. That's going to turn out to be very, very important because markets at the equilibrium cause shortages and surpluses to disappear. In other words, at equilibrium, there are no shortages and surpluses. Now, markets reach equilibrium because buyers act on their demand behavior. In other words, remember the law of demand said if we raise the price, they will buy less and vice versa. And then, of course, sellers are acting on their supply behavior. If the price goes up, they want to supply more, and of course, vice versa. And it turns out that no one is in charge. In other words, the market equilibrium does not take place because some government official is in charge of the market and says the price for gasoline will be $3.35 per gallon, or the price of milk will be $4 per gallon. Those kinds of things do not exist in a market system. There is no one in charge. It turns out that whatever the market price develops to be, it will be because of the market behavior of buyers and sellers who have opposite desires. And that's what's going to be really interesting about the market mechanism and why it's so hard for many people to understand it. Because it turns out that everybody in the market appears to want something different, yet they all converge on a particular price and a particular quantity that makes everybody as well off as they can be. And so last but not least, the market, let's do the second to last bullet point. The market mechanism leads the market to equilibrium and signals the desired outcome of the quantity at P sub E. The P sub E stands for the price at equilibrium. So we're going to find out there's something particularly special about that particular price. And by market mechanism, let's go back through this to remind ourselves. When we're using the term market mechanism, most of us, when we think of mechanism, we think of a physical thing, like a dump truck is a mechanism. A computer, you push certain keys on the keyboard, is a mechanism. Well, it turns out you can have social mechanisms as well, where they aren't physical things, they're social things. And it turns out the market mechanism is a social thing. It's like a huge machine, but it has no physical reality. It's all in the minds of the buyers and sellers as they interact with each other, given their self-interests. On our last bullet point, the quantity demanded, which is the amount people want to buy at any particular price, will end up equaling the quantity supplied, or the amount that firms want to supply at a particular price, when the price reaches the equilibrium price. Let's go ahead and demonstrate how that's true. On this slide, we have two opposite curves. We have the demand curve, which is sloping downward, as we all know. It slopes downward for the obvious reason that the lower the price goes, the more quantity people want to buy. And then, of course, the market supply curve, which is this one, is the exact opposite. It slopes upward because the higher the price goes, the more firms want to supply. And then, of course, the lower the price, you can't make any money in that market, and so therefore some firms leave or existing firms contract. They don't work overtime, things like that, and so they cut back. Now, let's take a look at this particular price right here. As you can see, and I'll just go ahead and put my little red laser pointer on, point X is somewhere on the demand curve, and it's at $25. So that means when the price is $25, consumers want to buy X amount, which is how much? That looks like about, what, 25 units? But unfortunately for the market, what do firms want to do? At a price of $25, it looks like they want to sell Y of whatever these items are. And I believe, let's go ahead and just use the author's example here. This is going to be the price of tutoring. So on the demand side, we have students who want to hire tutors. On the supply side, we have individuals who already know the material, who want to go into the tutoring business and supply themselves as a tutor. At this particular point, we realize that the price is $25. What we're going to have is a surplus, because if only 25 students want to hire a tutor, but we have, looks like, what's this number out here on the supply curve at 25? It looks like about, what, 60? We have 60 people who want to be tutors. Clearly, there's going to be way more tutors than there are students, and therefore we have a surplus. That's what surplus means. Whenever there's a surplus, there's more for sale at the current price than there are customers who want to buy. But that's not the only thing that could be taking place. We want to move toward equilibrium, and as we've already mentioned before, the equilibrium will always be where the supply curve and the demand curve intersect. So as we can see from these arrows, we need to get the consumers to buy more of this item, and we need to get, in this case, students who are the consumers trying to consume tutoring services. On the supply side, we need to get fewer tutors willing to be tutors in order to finally match up the number of students looking for tutoring help and the number of tutors who want to be in the business. Now let's take a look at the opposite situation. What if the price of tutors is only $15 per hour? Okay, for some whatever reason, we don't know why it's true, but at the moment, $15 is how much tutors are being paid. As you can see on the supply curve, this is the number of people willing to be tutors. At a wage of $15 an hour, how many people want to be tutors? Well, it looks like maybe only about 20 of them, right? There's always somebody desperate enough that even $15 an hour would get them to do it, but large numbers of people who would ordinarily want to be a tutor at $25 will decide, no, I'll find something else I'd rather do. So that's the number of tutors supplying themselves. But at $15 per hour, how many people would like to have a tutor? Well, as we can see from the dot on the demand curve at $15, it looks like about, what, maybe 45? About 45 students are looking for a tutor. But there's only enough tutors to handle 15 students. What do we call a situation like that? That's clearly a shortage, right? We would describe this as a shortage of tutors because at the current price of $15, there are more students looking for a tutor than there are tutors willing to work as tutors. So clearly we have a shortage. We would like to move away from a shortage. As you can see from our little arrows up here, we would like more people to go into the tutoring business, and we want some students to cut back on the amount of tutors they're demanding so that those students who truly need the tutors will be able to have them. So in a perfect world, we're going to find a situation where we have exactly the right number of tutors for exactly the right number of students who want to study. And of course, that will take place at the equilibrium price. You notice something really interesting about this equilibrium price. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. As we see from our dotted lines, it turns out the price is $20. That's where supply and demand are equal. Now, how many students want to hire a tutor at 20? Well, obviously fewer than wanted to do it at 20, or rather more than who wanted to do it at 25, but fewer than wanted to do it at 15. So if you go to the demand curve and search through all the dots on the demand curve, you see one lines up with $20, and that turns out to be 39 students want to hire a tutor. And then how many people want to be tutors? Search through all the dots on the supply curve till you find, oh, there's one that lines up with 20. You see we're on the supply curve now, and that one lines up with 20. How many tutors is that? Ta-da, it's 39. So we have 39 students looking to get a tutor. We have 39 people willing to be tutors. We've exactly matched up the market where the quantity supplied, meaning the number of people wanting to be tutors, is exactly equal to the number of students who want to hire a tutor. We have now reached the equilibrium. So remember, we found a compromise. Remember, the $20 price is not the most desired price. Obviously, students would rather the price to be 15, but what would tutors rather it be? The tutors would rather have it be 25. The $20 price is a compromise between what the tutors want and what the students want. And it's a very interesting compromise because it got everybody in the market to end up converging on 39 students and 39 tutors, so there's no surplus and there's no shortage. So let's now talk about what market clearing prices do for us. As we've already demonstrated, no shortages exist in a market with market clearing prices. Also, no surpluses exist. So whenever you see a shortage or a surplus in a market, you know that we're not at the market clearing price yet. Because if the prices are permitted to move, there is some price out there that will get the number of sellers exactly equal to the number of buyers. So if we're not at that point now, then obviously we're not at the equilibrium price. In the third bullet point, we see that the quantity demanded, the Q sub D stands for quantity demanded, is equal to the quantity supplied and is also equal to the equilibrium quantity. And then last but not least, the price PE or the equilibrium price will not change until there's a shift in demand or supply. So as long as this demand curve stays where it is, and as long as that supply curve stays where it is, then we know wherever the two of these intersect, this is the point at which this price must have triggered the desire in consumers to be exactly equal to the desire in firms. Really interesting point. And all of this is taking place without any government official ordering anyone to do anything. That's what's the interesting point here. So last thing we're going to do is figure out how the market moves to the equilibrium price automatically without any government official identifying the point and forcing anyone to move toward it. So let's go ahead and start off with a market surplus. We're going to assume that. We're going to assume that the amount by which quantity supplied exceeds the quantity demanded at a given price has excess supply. So we're going to have a price is going to be too high. So let's go ahead and find a price like that. How about this one right here? We're way above equilibrium. Equilibrium's down here. Right now the market price is way up here. And just like in my tutoring example, we know that if you go to the demand curve, you find out that the quantity demanded is very low because at a high price, many people are choosing to do something else. But if the price is high, the number of firms who want to sell that product is way over here. Quantity supplied is very high. So whenever the supply is greater than the demand, you're in a situation of a surplus. So how is this going to resolve itself without a government official stepping in? Well, the first thing we recognize is when there is a surplus, how do business firms respond to a surplus? They naturally put things on sale. I presume you've all have seen this before, and if any of you are operating a business, you know this is true. When you want to move unsold merchandise in a free society where you can't force people to buy whatever it is you're selling, how do you get them to buy it? Well, you put it on sale. And that's exactly what we're going to see here. We're going to start off at a price that's high compared to the equilibrium price, and at that high price there's a surplus, so business firms start marking the price down. As they do so, what happens to the number of consumers? Well, as we know, as we slide down the demand curve, one number is going down, that's the price number, but what's the quantity number doing? The quantity demand number is going up, isn't it? Because you can see that if you're at this dot, then the quantity demand is over here, not over here. So the lower the price, the more quantity demanded moves up. How are suppliers going to respond? We see from this red arrow what's going on here is as the price goes down, what happens to the desirability of being in this industry? I presume everyone recognizes at lower prices you're going to make less money. So if you're operating a third shift, for instance, on overtime in your factory, then it makes sense to go ahead and shut down the third shift, doesn't it? And therefore produce less of this item because the overtime costs are killing you. So we see that with this downward sloping arrow, what's happening is as the price is going down, this column, rather this axis, the quantity axis, is shifting to the right. So as the price falls, quantity demanded goes up. As the price falls, quantity demanded goes down. When will these two things stop moving? Well, obviously here at the equilibrium point. Once we've reached the equilibrium point, how many people want to buy this item? Well, remember, the demand curve has many dots on it. Oh, there's one that lines up with the price equilibrium. It turns out customers want the equilibrium quantity. And then what do firms want to do? Search through all the dots on the supply curve. Oh, I missed it there. There it is. It lines up with the equilibrium price, and it turns out to be, ta-da, it's the equilibrium quantity. So the whole point of this exercise is to recognize no third party, no government official needs to step in and command these people to move from the high price to the equilibrium price. The price will automatically move there because of the behavior of the market participants themselves. Firms will put things on sale. Customers will respond to the sale by increasing the amount that they buy until eventually the two of those numbers come together. Now let's take a look at a shortage. Remember, our definition of a shortage was that the amount by which quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied at a given price. We call that excess demand as well. So market shortages or excess demand mean the same thing. Now let's go ahead and take a look at an example. So whenever you have a market shortage, by definition, the price must be too low. And what do we mean by too low? Low compared to what? Well, as you can see here, low compared to the equilibrium price. I'm sure the people who are paying this price would like it to be even lower. I have never found a price that I thought was too low. I've always wanted prices to be lower. What we're referring here, of course, is low not compared to desire, but low compared to the equilibrium price. Well, what's wrong with a low price? I think low prices are nice. Well, the problem, of course, is at a low price, where's the demand? Quantity demand is way out here. Here's the dot on the demand curve that lines up with the low price. So the quantity demanded is way out here. But unfortunately, most firms have abandoned this business because you can't make any money at it. So the few firms remaining are where? Let's search through the dots on the supply. Oh, there's one that lines up exactly with the low price. So the quantity supplied is way over here. So we only have a handful of items being supplied, but we have a huge number of customers trying to buy it. What do we call that situation? Oh, and by the way, what does it look like? Well, when you walk in the store shelves are empty, right? They've already been purchased by others because they saw a great deal. They bought it because they thought the price was low compared to what the equilibrium is. So they bought all those items, and firms don't want to resupply the item. So you tend to see shelves that are empty whenever there's a shortage. So herein lies the interesting problem. How does this problem resolve itself? Do you need a government official to come in here and rearrange the prices? The answer, of course, is no. Market participants themselves will rearrange things. Because remember, if the price is way down here and customers are way out here, they really would like to have more of this item, some of them would be willing to pay a higher price to get some of that item, right? And as they do, as they signal their willingness to pay a higher price, firms recognize that people are willing to pay a higher price because with a shortage going on, they can get away with charging a higher price. It's certainly in their interest to raise the price, so business firms start raising their prices. As they do so, what happens to their desire to sell the item? Well, at a higher price, it's more profitable, so more firms enter the market. And vice versa. How do customers respond? Well, customers were trying to buy way out here, right at the low price. As the price goes up, what happens to the number that they're trying to buy? Some customers drop out and say, no, I don't want that item after all. And so we have fewer customers. Until we finally reach this price here, we call the equilibrium price. Remember, the equilibrium price was very special. Because it's where supply and demand cross each other, it's where supply and demand are equal to each other. So the customers who are on the demand curve at equilibrium price are wanting QE, or the equilibrium quantity. The firms are somewhere on the supply curve, and at the current market price, PE, they want to supply QE, and so obviously we no longer have a shortage, right? Because the amount that firms want to sell is exactly equal to the amount that people want to buy. So the price, if it starts off too low, creating a shortage, it will automatically rise, just like in our previous example, when the price was too high, it will trigger a surplus, putting things on sale, and the price will naturally come down. So the bottom line is, in either case, whether there's a shortage or a surplus, there's an automatic market mechanism that's triggered by the desires of the people participating in the market themselves, the buyers and the sellers. They will automatically move because it's in their self-interest to move toward the equilibrium. So here's our last point then. Let's go ahead and sum this all up. The equilibrium price and quantity will be impacted by changes in the determinants of supply and demand. Remember, we talked about earlier that entire supply curves can move, entire demand curves can move for non-price reasons. And so we recognize that when we found that previous slide where the supply and demand curves just stayed in one place and we found an equilibrium, we know, of course, that those entire supply and demand curves can shift. And so let's say we have a change in buyers' behavior, one of the determinants. Let's say income increases, then you would expect that the demand would increase because people have more money, right? Or the seller's behavior could change. Let's say there's a huge increase in the cost of gasoline and you're in the trucking business. Obviously, diesel fuel. As diesel fuel gets more expensive, the profits of being a trucker go down, and so clearly fewer people would be willing to drive trucks. So my point is that we recognize that not only do people respond to the current market price, but they also respond to non-price determinants as well. And so after the curve shifts, either the demand curve or the supply curve shifts, then the market mechanism kicks in again because it'll either be a shortage or a surplus, and then the market mechanism kicks in. Buyers and sellers will change their behavior until they move to the market equilibrium. So that's essentially how all market systems work. That's why no one is in charge of any particular market. Every individual business is only in charge of their own behavior. Every customer is in charge of only their own behavior. There's no government official telling them what to do, yet they still gravitate toward the market equilibrium. Shortages and surpluses are eliminated, and we've achieved a good compromise. It's an absolutely amazing thing because it all takes place invisibly. And no one sees how it operates until, of course, you study this, and then, of course, your mind can see how it operates. Very good. Let's move on to the next